let me try to delve slightly deeper into one part of what I talked about in the previous video. I am fine with my characters in my stories being born into different circumstances, being raised in different sorts of environment, thus resulting in different physique, different dispositions, abilities, knowledge, and so on. But I do not want a character, for example, a woman with blue eyes, who would then, just based on these two traits, automatically end up being better at handling any sort of power or weapon better than, let's say, a male character with one nostril larger than the other. Obviously, nonsensical example, but it should get the point across. Another and the most obvious one would be that women are physically weaker than men. That is true in our real world, it is a fact, but our real world is the one that I don't want to have anything to do with, and I feel that there should be no reason for me to base my fictional universe on such reality. Similarly, some specific traits that would enable a character, but only that character, possessing that specific trait, and it would be impossible. Imagine this being in parentheses. I don't want to go the usual transplantation forbidden knowledge villain trying to get the same power others are given from birth route, so it would be impossible to get it otherwise through effort and trial and error and knowledge and learning. This is again not based on logic, it is really more of my personal preference and what do I consider permissible and enjoyable, and what on the other hand just goes against the fur. Some characters will be taller, will have longer limbs, be better at cooking, be worse at reading, and so on, but I don't want to make these generic based on some universal truth that would permeate the entire story, the entire setting, because I do feel that I would end up using them as an excuse, as a crutch to include certain archetypes that I don't want to see in my stories. And so, all in all, I would just rather prefer to avoid that completely, skip the temptation altogether. Circling back to the men and women are different, I obviously feel that it needs to be present in some way for it to make some sense, but considering how important it is for me to have action and to have representatives of both genders on both sides of the aisle, and even on the third side, the neutral side, without being hampered by the setting itself, I will just have to make sure that those differences are represented in some unique way than just, oh, she's weaker, so in a direct confrontation she would lose, so she has to use her smarts. And that being based just on the fact that she is a woman. But enough of my hopefully slightly more cohesive rambling about this topic for approximately the 10th time since I started doing this, because my mouth is simply unable to properly interpret what my imagination and my imaginary brain are trying to say. And back to something that makes at least some sense, which is the stories of the club called the Rapid Arrows. They are now on the verge of figuring out this great secret. Also, quick correction, those achenes belong to a maple tree, and thus they are called samara. They are a specific type of achene, so I wasn't entirely wrong. But anyway, they won't be exactly important going forward in this story arc because the message has been decoded, and it goes like this: that anyone interested in a reward is to look for a young boy riding a yellow bike who resides somewhere in between Horsegate and Boilermaker Street, since he is allegedly the perpetrator who shattered a large shopping window and then ran away. And so here is a decision of what to do with this particular message, and the Rapidaros decide that they will find the boy, force him to pay for the shopping window, but also help him out by giving him the promised reward. They also come to a conclusion that Ondra Rybak must have seen the boy and created this game to both entertain his fellow younglings and also maybe help find and deliver justice. And so our heroes arrive at, and here it would just feel correct to use the definite article, the horse gate, and the only thing search engines can do in this particular case is to give me the biblical horse gate where the article is used, but then also a plethora of other gates from all over the world where no article is used. Then there is also the Golden Gate Bridge where American English uses a definite article. So anyway, they pass by a young lady whom Speedy addresses as little girl when asking her if she knows anyone with a yellow bike living nearby. Her reply, I don't know, little boy, with great emphasis on the little boy, leaves Speedy shocked, contemplating the fact that even though he'll be 30 in 16 years, she dared to call him a little boy, giving the rest of the club a good chuckle before they do spot someone on a yellow bike, so they follow him to a building where he enters a door where a club called Moonlight, and it would feel wrong to use an article here, contrary to how it would feel wrong to not use it with the rapid arrows. So this girls' club is having a meeting. They politely welcome the boys and ask them for the reason why they are there. Mirek asks them about the boy who had just entered before they arrived and explains that he caused some damage. The leader of the club seems to know him, but she swears that he's a very kind, gentle boy. And when Mirek mentions the boy running away after causing a significant amount of damages, she realizes what exactly are they talking about and exclaims that the situation is a bit more complicated and they are willing to lead the Rapidaros to the boy and have him explain it, at least have the chance to speak for himself before they come to any conclusions. She leads them up the stairs and onto a terrace where the boy is maintaining his bike. And after she tells him why the rapid arrows are there, he begins recollecting what really happened. And so it happened like this. He was riding his bike on the road, obviously not on the pavement, because of course no lines for cyclists on the sidewalk back then, and he was being overtaken by a truck, so he had to come really close to the sidewalk. And when he was passing by that shopping window, an unfortunate rock got catapulted into the glass, shattering it in the process. And well, we are dealing with a 13 years old boy. Despite that clearly not being his fault, he got scared and ran away. And so the leader of Moonlight asks the Rapid Arrow to confirm this story in that shop and preferably try and reconcile the situation, since ever since this had happened, the young boy has been living in fear, and that is exactly what they are going to do. Another member of Moonlight leads them to this shop, which is some sports equipment, selling all kinds of skis and so on, where they ask the owner some questions regarding their investigation into the culprit of this unfortunate accident, and they also ask for the approximate price for that window. Well, as it turns out, everything has already been paid by the insurance company, and the man just wants a second payment from the boy's parents, and thus it's still worth it for him to put a quote unquote bounty on the boy's head, which doesn't really sit well with the Rapid Arrows, so they leave the shop and share the news with the rest of the club that the man is quite a character, wanting to have the window actually paid for twice, and when they reunite with Moonlight, they put the pieces together and decide to give up the reward, since it wasn't really the young boy's fault that it happened, and the shopping window had already been paid for by the insurance company anyway, so they forfeit the final step of this game like investigation. And to get some closure, they seek out the older boy who had started this when he created those samaras, thank him for this enjoyable experience, tell him that they have successfully solved the puzzle, found the boy, but they are not going to be spreading his name anywhere, since they do firmly believe that he is innocent. And this is the end of this short saga and also of this video. In the next one, I'm going to continue talking, say a few words. Maybe if I'm lucky, I'll be able to form some actual sentences out of them, and I'm going to continue with rapid arrows as well.